Welcome back to the channel. Like, subscribe, and stop watching Euphoria. It's turning you into a dangerous drug addict. At least that's what the anti-drug campaign D.A.R.E says. D.A.R.E, or the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program, also known as the inventors of the toughest t-shirt on planet Earth, other than my merch, loosespears.com, have come out and spoken against the massively popular HBO TV show, Euphoria. Now, D.A.R.E, these anti-drug campaigners, think that Euphoria is teaching kids that it's cool to do drugs, which is just ridiculous. The only thing that's regularly teaching kids that it's cool to do drugs is all of those tradies who have high school girlfriends. If you don't know what Euphoria is, it's a HBO show, so it's brilliant, it's really well shot, but it's basically just a high school drama with a main character who struggles with a lot of abuse and drug addiction and drugs and sex and all that kind of stuff. It's like Skins with better teeth and LED lighting. Like with Skins, we've seen this controversy before. Any TV show that follows high school kids and shows the reality of a lot of these high school kids doing drugs and getting into trouble and getting hurt and suffering consequences as a result of that, generally all of these anti-drug campaigns come out and say, oh, look how cool it makes drugs look. It's like, I don't know if someone overdosing, almost dying, and then falling into a crippling drug addiction is presenting drugs as cool, because that's what Euphoria is, and it doesn't make me want to try heroin. You know what makes me want to try heroin? 2 years of quarantine without being able to do stand-up comedy. Speaking of, I can finally do it. Keep me away from the needle. loosespears.com. I'm coming to Melbourne in March and April. Get your tickets now. D.A.R.E, founded in 1983 during Ronald Reagan's war on drugs, had this to say about Euphoria. Rather than further every parent's desire to keep their children safe from potentially horrific consequences of drug abuse and other high-risk behavior, Euphoria chooses to misguidedly glorify and erroneously depict high school student drug use, addiction, anonymous sex, violence, and other destructive behaviors as common and widespread in today's world. Look, I don't know about other parts of the world, but as someone who lives in Frankston, yeah, that's pretty common and widespread here. Although if you were to film a teen drama in Frankston about Frankston kids, if you employed Frankston kids to play those kids, they'd be less likely to say their lines, more likely to do lines, and then steal the cameras and sell them at cash converters.
Coming around like, look at me, I'm this, I'm that.
And look, D.A.R.E might have a point about Euphoria if it was being played in your kid's YouTube playlist after every Cocomelon video, but it's not. It's on HBO and it's rated 15+, and Zendaya, who's the lead actor and the executive producer, has come out multiple times and said Euphoria is for mature audiences, it's not for kids. So a show that isn't for kids cannot make something look cool to children because it's not for them. This isn't a problem you have with the show. This is a problem that you should have with people letting their children watch a show that's full of drugs and sex and rape and violence. It's not something children should watch, so don't yell at the show's creators for making this. Tell the parents to not let their kids watch it. Why is it that every time a new controversial TV show or video game comes out, we have to have this exact same conversation, which is, hey, it's not the show's problem, it's the parents' problem. Tell them to parent their kids. I feel like I repeat myself every 6 months when I make a video about something like this. Now, maybe if you looked at tiny clips of Euphoria, you might think, oh, this is making drugs look cool, but the way they depict drug use is a realistic way of viewing it. There's incredible highs of hard drug use, and then there's also incredible lows. You can't really present drug use accurately if you don't show what it's like while you're on them, and then the terrifying consequences of what it's like coming down off hard drugs or being addicted to them or trying to get them and ending up in dangerous situations. That's what hard drug use is. It's a massive high followed by a massive low, and then you're chasing the dragon trying to get that first initial high. That's what it is. Trust me, I've seen it. I live in Frankston. And realistic depictions of drug use in media and also proper education about the pros and cons of drugs is honestly what has kept me off them. I'm a sober person. I don't particularly mind if someone does drugs or drinks as long as they're not hurting anyone or themselves. It's just not for me, and I truly think that a big reason why I was able to make that decision was because I was properly educated on the topic. My parents told me all about it. I did my own research about it. I watched a lot of TV shows and I read a lot of books where drugs were in the story and were realistically shown and depicted, and I was able to come to an informed decision and go, I don't think that's for me. And that's not something you get when you just completely hide something from children. We know this with sex education. If all you tell kids is to don't have sex ever, you'll die, they're gonna do it more. If you tell kids that they should never do drugs, but you don't tell them about why they shouldn't or what drugs are or the positives and the negatives of them so they can make their own informed decision, we know that kids just flock to the cool, dangerous thing because it's exciting and mysterious. In fact, we're literally able to prove this with science, and we can even show, using D.A.R.E's own anti-drug campaign, that their strategy of scaring children about drugs, telling them to just say no, and not educating them properly about drugs, instead opting to scare them away from drugs, literally pushed them closer and closer to drugs and encouraged kids to do drugs who maybe otherwise wouldn't. In fact, this has been proven multiple times. For example, in this 1992 study by Indiana University, it showed that graduates of the D.A.R.E campaign subsequently had higher rates of hallucinogenic drug use than those not exposed to the program. Which I 100% believe. When I was in grade 5, I had no idea what a fucking hallucinogen was. If you came into my classroom, kicked down my door and said, hey, if you take a little acid tab, you might meet God and he'll tell you the meaning of life, I might go, fuck yeah, that sounds awesome. All I've known previously was building blocks and comic books. I want to try acid. Not because it's dangerous, but because it makes you insufferable. Can you guys hear that? That's the sound of people who wear face paint to music festivals typing paragraphs. I mean, what do you think is going to make kids use drugs? Showing the reality of a come down and the symptoms of addiction and the negative consequences it can have on your life, like they do in Euphoria? Or Mr. T wearing 16,000 golden chains, shaking your head while a grandma watches? Yes, that's a real ad.
I get angry just thinking about it makes me mad. Little kids doing drugs, it turns my stomach. That stuff hurts. It stops you from living up to your potential. It holds you back. It hurts the user. It hurts his family. And it hurts his friends. I just want to shake some sense into you kids that are using drugs and thinking about using. So remember, don't, or else. Okay?
I mean, fuck, Mr. T breaking a glass of milk in his bare hands, punching food in a diner, breaking the third world to shake the camera, and then getting surrounded by a bunch of old ladies very menacingly. That is a fucking acid trip if I've ever heard of one. That feels like I'm on drugs watching that shit. Of course it's gonna make me want to go and try it. In fact, just because I've watched that video there, I promise that here on out, I will do No, I'm not going to do that. Guys, thank you very much for watching. That's the end of the video. Make sure you grab tickets to my comedy festival show in Melbourne. It's gonna be brilliant. It's in March and April. We've got a big theater. It's gonna be incredible. It's called Straight Outta Frankston. It's a brand new show, and I cannot wait to see you there, perform the show, and meet everyone after. It's gonna be great. loosebeers.com for your tickets. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week in the brand new studio.
Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt. Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt. Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt. Buy my shit, buy my shirts, buy my merch and no one gets hurt.